bobolson.com. That's bobolson.com. He's the author of Answers About the Afterlife. A Private Investigator's 15-year research unlocks the mysteries of life after death. It's published by Building Bridges Press. And first of all, Bob, thanks very much for coming on. Great talking to you. What about children? You know, children talk about invisible friends. Are they invisible friends, or are they the guardian angels and those who protect the children?
You know, I think there can be both. I think that, there are imaginary friends for some kids,
right.
And I think in other cases they may actually be seeing people who are in spirit. And children tend to be able to have this ability more than adults because the reasons that at least I have bought into are that they've been away from the spirit world less time. In other words, they were born and they came from the spirit world, and so they still have some abilities that tend to disappear as the older they get. And maybe they learn skepticism from people, or they just the further away you get from it, the more you forget.
Based on your research and based on the information that you've been able to gather from those that you've interviewed, when does the returning to this planet or any other planet, any other plane, any other dimension stop for the spirit? And when it does stop, what does the spirit do?
Well, so that's a great question. I love all your questions. Let me just tell you that. I love your questions because you're willing to ask the questions that few people have ever wanted to ask me. And they're tough questions and they're difficult questions. And this one specifically, I will say, I can't say that I have a real answer for it. Originally, I used to think that we got to a point where we just merged back with God. You know what I mean? We learned all that needed to be learned. I'm still not sure about that at this point. I haven't seen enough evidence that exists. But then, how would you, if a soul were to grow spiritually to the point where basically it became one with God again? I guess they wouldn't be telling you about it because they didn't exist anymore. But I haven't seen enough evidence to draw a conclusion either way.
Bob, we have about a minute left, and here's my final question for you. How can a listener determine whether or not a person purporting to be a psychic is legitimate or not?
I don't think most people are really going to be able to know the difference. The main thing that you want to make sure that person's telling you things that they couldn't possibly know. And that's what scares the heck out of people, because we have the internet these days,
right.
And so they get very suspicious. If you go to a stranger and you do it in such a way that you haven't given your real name or something like that, and you can pull it off in that way, that's probably the best way to get over your skepticism.
Bob, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I wish you much success, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Thanks, Rob. I really appreciate being here. Thanks, everybody.
X Zone Nation, Bob Olson has been my guest this hour. He's the author of... All right, do you have your pencils and paper handy? You can also go to xzonearchives.com, but here it is. Answers About the Afterlife. A private investigator's 15-year research unlocks the mysteries of life after death. Also, you can visit these websites, bestpsychicmediums.com, bestpsychicdirector.com, and Afterlife TV. He also runs a course for mediums at psychicmediumworkshop.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Send me your emails. Love hearing from you. Xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, or chat with us on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. We're on Twitter, and we're also on LinkedIn and all the other social media sites. I'll be back at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.